the Janine Driver in the studio today, and I'm excited to share an amazing episode with everyone because not only is Janine world-renowned in her expertise and body language and micro-expressions, but she has such a plethora of more knowledge behind that lovely smiling face.
Nice.
And our relationship has developed pretty quick over the last year, and I would say that we're friends.
Yeah, my sister was like, "Who's that guy next to you?" I'm like, "Client/friend."
So I'm just excited to spend time with you,
Thank
Janine.
you.
And as always, the first question I typically ask is, how do you define impact in the world, and how do you show up in an impactful way?
Oh, I didn't even know these were coming. Oh, okay. So for me, I would define impact as making a measurable difference in someone's life.
I like that. Measurable.
Um, Someone asked me at an event recently, another client for a women's event. I speak at a lot of women's events, and she said, "What's your biggest compliment? Like at the end of you speaking at an event, what's the thing that like brings you the most pride?" And my sister was next to me. She does all my corporate sales, whatever. And I said this that I'm about to tell you, and my sister goes, "I knew you were going to say that." Do you know what it is? What do you think my biggest like ego, like I feel like I made a difference today at the end of an event?
I want to say that maybe something around impacting not only that person but other people. Like I feel like if you spoke and I was like, that's going to help me make a better parent for my
That's it.
child.
This is it. Okay.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
When, and particularly a man, when a man comes up to me and says, "I came in for sales," or "I came in for leadership. I'm a CEO or senior VP or new to the company, whatever, and I'm walking out a better father." That I get emotional thinking about it. Recently, just it happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and there was a ton of AV difficulties. The back lights, it was a couple thousand people, and the back lights were twitching. So people are gonna like have seizures, and so the last back 5 tables all left. I got there an hour before to do hour and a half before to do a run through. The sound and AV guy, he arrived 15 minutes before I'm supposed to go on stage at 8 a.m. I didn't go on until 8:20, and guess what? The mic. Every 5 minutes, the mic went out for 20 seconds. It was a nightmare.
It's tough.
It's a nightmare. They're paying a lot of money for me to speak for an hour, so I have to now repeat it. I give myself a grade. And so for me, I gave myself a B minus C plus for that event. They loved it. I got a standing ovation, which was great, but they don't know what I was going to really give them.
Yeah.
And so I was so disappointed. And I walked out of there, but I believe I'm a Christian and I believe everything is happening for my greater good.
Yeah.
There's a quote in the Bible called Romans 8:28, right? And so I truly believe that. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it, but there's something here. Well, that night, I got a text. I give everyone my cell phone number at the event at the end. I announce it. I'm the best version of me when I'm serving people. And a guy texted me and he said, "I just want to let you know, I've been coming to these events X amount of years, and I walked away a better father tonight." He goes, "I've been getting it wrong with my kids, with my daughters," he said. "I've been getting it wrong with my daughters, and I'm going back. I'm not going to just change my relationship with my daughters, but I'm going to change the relationship with my company." He was a CEO of it was an association event. And that's my biggest compliment. One time I did an event and the guy was 6'7". He was like a human jungle gym, 6'7" firefighter. He was a lieutenant. And he came up, this human jungle gym, and he had tears in his eyes. And he said to me, I'm like, "Is everything okay?" And he goes, "I'm doing it wrong." And I immediately knew he was talking about his kids.
It's choking me up a little bit,
Yeah.
just thinking through those scenarios, because I mean, that is impact.
Yeah. That to me is you're making an impact.
That's in so many different silos and ripple effects. And
Yeah.
the reason why it's choking me up a little bit, because someone was at an event and someone spoke to that person, and that person's daughters don't talk to them. They haven't talked to them in years.
Mm.
And that person was like, "Oh, you have a daughter?" And
Yeah.
was so vulnerable and open with me.
Yeah.
That they told me what that speaker had told them and how they fucked up their life.
Really?
And how they don't have a relationship. And so what I'm saying is I was the recipient
Mm.
of a professional speaker who spoke to this person who then shared that with me to make sure that I change the relationship with my daughter before she doesn't get to a point where she never speaks to me, and they haven't spoken in 7 years. So you're having a ripple effect.
Yes.
Is so much deeper from an impact standpoint, is the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, it's the biggest. Listen, for every time I get it right, I get it wrong 6 more times. You know, I'm a work in progress. I'm a Boston girl. We're Boston people.
Yeah.
Shout out to Boston. Waltham, Mass.
Let's go.
And I'm really big on learning a technique and implementing it. I think that a lot of people come to events that I might speak at, or you might be at yourself or speaking at, Jim, and they'll transform their notebook, but they don't transform their life. And so for me, I remember I went to the NSA, National Speakers Association, one event, one time, and I walked out with so many notes. It was so amazing. I loved it. I learned how to tell stories by Patricia Fripp. I learned all these wonderful things, marketing and all this. And I didn't go back. And the reason I didn't go back is because I'm like, why would I go back? I have to implement this. I've got 22 pages of notes. When I implement all of this, then I'll pay to come back.
Yep.
I've never been back since. And I'm still implementing those things that I learned. That was 19 years ago.
One of my mastermind attendees, I called her up and I said, hey, would you like to join the second cohort? We're starting it up in 2 weeks. And she said, no, very boldly and bluntly. And I was like, well, tell me more.
Yes.
She's like, you have brought in so many people. You have given me so much information that I don't want to learn more. I'm going to go implement it. And I was like, that is the happiest no sale I've ever gotten. Right? That is impact, right? Because she's like, and I'm going to, and you spoke, you were part of it, that cohort. And she said to me, she said, but here's the thing. I'm your biggest fan. I'm going to go tell everybody they need to join. And it was just such that moment of like, yes, like don't join the second cohort. Like keep the money. Like this is impact, right? Like now go do it. Reach out to me. Let me know. She'll be at the event tomorrow that we're going to be at. I'll introduce you to her.
Can I share with your audience a tip about people being your raving fans and wanting to tell everyone about not just you, but you and your business and whatever you do?
Of course.
Now, you may know this, and if you do, just let me know. And maybe you've talked about it here before. And just in case, sometimes I think we need to be reminded of things. I say Tom Brady was the best quarterback of all time, and he still practiced how to throw the ball.
Yep.
You know, it's not like he learned it, got the ring, and was like, I'm good. No, he still was constantly redoing it. You know, I think it's, what's his name? The Kung Fu guy. He says, I'm not afraid of the man who knows 5,000 kicks. Jackie Chan. I'm not afraid of the man who knows 5,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the man who knows one kick he's done 5,000 times. And so sometimes I think things are meant to be heard at that moment. So here's the tip. If you want people to become raving fans of yours, it's not good enough to do a great job for them. They need to know that other people have the same opinion. So it's called, it's right here. I could have an opinion that you changed my life and you're amazing. And as long as it's my opinion, I'm unlikely to tell other people how you changed my life. In order for it to become from an opinion to a belief, I need to know that other people have that same opinion of you that I have. So how as speakers can we let people know? Well, you got a standing ovation. You're on the stage, you get a standing ovation. So I'm standing up, giving you a standing ovation. The person to my left or my right are doing the same. Now I don't have an opinion. Now I have a belief that you're an amazing speaker, which you are. So there are times that we need to, especially women, men tend to be a little better about this, how do we make it become a belief? And the reason I say men versus women, a man, not all men, it's a stereotype, but a man may speak and kill it. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're good at marketing and you're good at social media, you're going to say, hey, will you videotape, Janine, will you give me a testimonial? I go up to you, Jim, and I'm like, you're the best speaker I've ever seen. You're all about connecting people. And I really struggle with this. I'm an extrovert and introvert. I'm really good on the stage. I have the gift of gab, but I'm not a good networker.
Yep.
I have a shy side, which I do. I'm super introverted when it comes to networking. I love that one tip you gave me. Will you, I say to you, you're amazing.
And I'm like,
you then
hey,
say, Janine, give me that in a testimonial. Women, most women, not all, are unlikely to do this. because we feel like it's self-gratuitous to then have you videotape. That's fine. Get someone else on your team to do it.
Yep.
You know, how would your life have been different if you had this 5 years ago? So when someone comes up to you, Jam, and you at home, and or sends you an email or a text or a phone call, and they say, "Oh my gosh, that event you did for us was amazing," or that homemade ice cream, or that studio you created for Jim is amazing. It's the best studio I've ever been interviewed in. It's amazing. Instead of you saying what most people say, which is what?
Thank you.
Thank you. Instead, thank you. I recently received similar feedback on the studio just this morning. And don't lie about, I'm all about authenticity.
Of course.
Say something. It could have been 6 months ago someone said it to you. You know, it could say your wife could have said it to you last night. Hey, this is the best studio I've ever seen. Someone recently said to me just yesterday, it's the best, something similar to what you said. And when we are together, now you take an opinion versus a belief. If I have an opinion, I won't tell people about you. If I have a belief, I'll tell everyone about you.
That's powerful. I've never thought of it in that much detail, to be honest.
Yeah, so I think about it when people go up like, oh my God, this, like a father, like that changed my life. Like I'm going to become a better. And the reason what they're talking about here is thinking like a hostage negotiator. And we're doing it wrong with our kids in a couple different ways. A friend of mine just called me, Steven, from Florida yesterday. He has a son who's has given them a run for the money. And Steven knows I have a specific set of skills. I have 3 sons. Believe me, I get some things wrong. What I do not get wrong are all 3 of my kids are polite. What I also don't do, you'll never hear me yell. Some people have a yelling household. I used to have a hot temper. Boston people, we have hot tempers, many of us. I'm taming
that these days in my 30s.
I grew up in a yelling household. I think that you may have grown up in a yelling household as well.
Boston Irish Catholic? Come on.
Boston Irish Catholic. I'm a non-denominational Christian. But I think for me, they came to visit, my friend Steve, his wife, and 2 kids. They go, your house is so quiet. I go, what do you mean? They're like, but you're like a hothead. Like they had a vision of me because they've known me for years before I had kids, that I would have a yelling household, but I don't. Here's why. Dr. Andrew Newberg. I was doing I did a couple TED Talks. Congrats, I know you have a TED Talk. So
a couple? You did what, 4?
Yeah, well, I did 4. Well, 2 are kind of a bust, but one of the 2 I think is really great message.
You have 2 that are over 6 million views.
Yeah, those ones did really good. Yeah. I was like fitter then, and I think I was like, I had my extensions in. But anyway, which everyone points out, that like your color extensions don't match the top. I was like, shut the fuck up. So
if you're watching a TED Talk and worried about the extensions, you're probably watching the wrong YouTube video that day.
You're kind of missing. Now I lost my train of thought now that I got there. Oh, what was I just saying?
Dr. Berg or
something. Oh yeah. So for one of the talks, I interviewed Dr. Andrew Newberg. And what he said changed my life. I think this was my first talk. It's called The Cooperation Paradigm. It's on YouTube. People can watch it for free. It's how to think like a hostage negotiator to get people to cooperate. And I say when people feel they matter and belong, cooperation will be strong.
Yep.
So I interviewed this guy. He's all about brain and connection. I was camping in Wells, Maine.
Let's go.
And I remember being in the car when he called me back. I was like, everyone shut up. It's a brain doctor. Like, he's like so famous, said with love. Not like, shut the fuck up. And he told me 2 things that changed me that day as a parent, which is, 1, we need to stop using negative words. When we use negative words, not just with our kids, but with your team, with your significant other, anyone who works for you, and you use a negative word. And what a negative word is like,
don't do that.
Yes.
But they skip the don't and they
hear
do that.
Hear don't, right? Yeah. We've all heard that, like this kind of NLP world. And like, instead of saying don't run in the street, you say stay on the sidewalk. Don't touch that. Don't freak out. Don't stress out. I'll solve this for you. Rest assured you're in good hands. No negative words. That's number 1. Number 2, if you use a negative pitch, a screaming pitch, tone of voice, what happens is the amygdala fires in the brain. And the amygdala is like the incident commander. And so when you use negative words combined with an increase in your tone of voice, an angry voice, the brain shuts down, and the incident commander is like, we've got danger, escape. And so
fight or flight.
So then your people don't hear you. So your kids aren't hearing you. And so when I talk about that and assigning people the traits you want them to have, thinking like a hostage, the hostage, David Koresh was holding these people hostage, right? Women, children, kids. And men, women, and children. And the hostage negotiator goes in. He didn't say, David Koresh, you're a nutball. you're like holding people, like, let them go. You're crazy. No, he said, everyone out here says you're a man of your word. Is this true? The important part here is saying yes. You've got to get them to say yes. Yeah. And so I think even though I'm known as a body language expert, it's these throwaway little tidbits that I've learned along the way that I use that have made an impact on my life as a mother, as an entrepreneur.
Holistically. Yeah.
Yes, across the board.
Yeah.
And so those moments where I'm just saying some little teeny thing is awesome. Those lights going out, those back tables leaving, the microphone not working every 30 seconds. My ADD, Jim, and you at home was pinging. Ping, 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 ping.
Oh, yeah, your mind's everywhere at that point.
I was not going to talk about David Koresh and the hostage negotiator and this whole cooperation thing. That was not in my deck. I didn't get to 40 slides in my deck. That came up because I had to assign myself my own traits because I was getting so angry at the AV person. In my head, I'm like, how could he show up 15 minutes before? I'm here an hour and a half. This is what happens when it's a union town. I'm like passing all these judgments.
Yeah, you're creating stories in your own head that cause stress, may or may not be true.
Right. My mother would call it stinking thinking.
Yeah.
Get out of your stinking thinking. So I was like, Janine, assign yourself traits. And I'm like, I am powerful. It's so funny. I just had a party at my house. I run a meetup group in Alexandria, Virginia. And my lights that hang in the backyard, those like hanging funky lights, they all died. My contractor blew me off. He didn't come. So I somehow had to get it way up high. I have a pool, so it can't be near the pool. And so I'm trying to throw them up over this branch, right? And my two girlfriends are over there visiting. And I'm trying to throw it up. They're like, you can do it. And I'm like, I was thinking of coming here to Nashville. I'm like, I am a cowgirl. I was raised in Nashville. I lasso, animals for a living. After like 15 tries, I'm like, I grew up. My daddy owns a ranch. And I take the thing and I went like 4 feet over the branch. And they're like, holy shit, that self-talk, that worked. I'm like, you did right, it works. And by the way, I'm from Boston. I'm not from here.
Yeah.
And I see the impact that all of these tools that I talk about, that my mentors have shared with me, that I've learned along the way, has made in my own life.
Yeah.
And so that's I think back to what is impact, how it's affected me. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. In very
I just
much
flew in
detail.
today, so watch the comments on YouTube. They're like, I know I talk nonstop. I get this feedback a lot. They're like, oh, the guy asked one question and she went for an hour. So I'm trying. But my ADD after flying in is like pinging.
Bring me back to a moment like in your career that was just extremely pivotal for you. Meaning not necessarily so much like I got this TED Talk in hopes that it would get 6 million and blow me up, but more like maybe a lesson or an experience or
I have two.
A mentor that just told you something that changed the whole entire game.
Oh shit, I have 3. Okay.
I knew you would.
Okay.
Because you do this for me, by the way. So everybody listening, we have a conversation randomly on a Tuesday night that lasts an hour, or in the middle of the day, 2 hours the other day. And
today when you picked me up, we were in the car sitting in front of the hotel for like 2 hours.
And it just drops and it allows you to look at things and just have a different approach. What's some of those experiences you've had in your career?
Thanks, Jim. One is I want you to imagine you're 16 years old. It's 5:15 a.m. in the morning. It's summertime, but it's pouring rain, so it's pitch black outside. You're on your bike, 5:15 a.m., driving your bike to a little donut shop where you work part-time at 16. By the way, you just turned 16 because the week before you were 15. And you go to pick up your check, and as you're driving 1.8 miles to go pick up your check, your parents don't even know you've left the house. A man tries to kidnap you and throw you in his car. That's my story. And so at 16, a guy tries to throw me in his car and kidnap me. And here's the deal. I got away. And the reason I got away is at 6, if we back up, at 6 years old, I started to have very specific skills on reading human behavior that was, not chosen, but forced upon me to learn how to read human behavior. And I think you've had your own journey on reading and decoding human behavior.
100%.
And for every time we get it right, we get it wrong 100 times. And our stubbornness, I think, sometimes is a blessing and sometimes is a curse, for me at least. And so this set me on this journey. And today what I teach is how to be 1 or 2 steps ahead in business and in life, like real skills, like how to make smarter decisions. And it all goes back to getting away from being kidnapped at 16.
Wow.
And I say to people, don't you want to know the story behind the story with human beings that you meet? Wouldn't your life change if you were able to get 2 steps ahead? Body language happens 5 seconds before thought. So if I can teach you this very specific skills that I have, which I can, you have a 5 second advantage in the boardroom, in the sale, in the negotiation, in the leadership meeting, in the job interview. And that's what I do. So it changed the direction. I spent 2 decades in federal law enforcement and firearms trafficking, illegal manufacturing of explosives and importation of explosives with ATF. Like those were my expertise, is investigating the patterns behind those illegal activities. And so that was one pivotal moment. And if I looked at my life, you know, we were talking earlier, Malcolm Gladwell, this tipping point, so old school, but it's still legit, is if I look at my life as a triangle, I would say that's a big, I call them blue streaks. Like a blue streak, my mother used to say, Janine, you talk a blue streak. A blue streak is a bolt of lightning. And when someone's in the pool, you get them out of the pool. If someone is playing tennis, you get them off the tennis, or golf.
Yep.
A blue streak is something that you change the direction immediately. Sometimes it's a crappy boss. I worked at the World Trade Center and my boss was an asshole. Her name was Colleen. And I had an opportunity to audition for Saturday Night Live. I used to do stand-up comedy. But I'm like, do I really want to live in New York, keep working for ATF and work for this terrible boss? So because of that, I went and worked at the FBI for a year in West Virginia. And then that led me to go somewhere in Seattle. I call those blue streaks.
Yep.
So this is the first blue streak that happens when I'm 16, when I'm almost kidnapped. The next one, now I end up working for ATF. There's another blue streak hidden in there. I won't go over right now how I got that job, but no one heard of ATF. It was the original Elliot Ness was ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. So Elliot Ness was like taxes on alcohol. When there was that whole, and that's where it started. But here's my next big tipping point, Jim, and you at home, is I got the job. I was with ATF for a while, and I knew I had an entrepreneur spirit inside of me, and I'm a hard worker. And I was making $115,000 because I'm on a pay scale that everyone else it gets the same, right? I was a grade 14, step whatever, 6. You can go look at the pay scale. We all make the same. But I'm working 10 times harder than everyone else.
Yep.
I'm a program manager. I had 6 programs. But you have 1 program, and you have 1 program, and you have 1 program. And I had 6 by choice because I need to do a lot of things. If you gave me 1, I'd be bored. So I had all these programs: supervisor training, analytical interviewing, detecting deception, courtroom testimony, supervisor training, and secretary training. I did a little bit. Why do I tell you that? So I got this, Dan Kennedy, the marketing guy?
Yeah.
He used to send out tapes, VHS tapes you would get in the mail. And I would get them because inside I had this entrepreneur spirit coming in. And I remember it was like a Tuesday night, and I put in this VHS tape, and Dan Kennedy is talking, to restaurant owners. Did I tell you this story before?
No.
He's talking to restaurant owners, and he said, say you have the world's best meatballs, you have the world's best pizza, you have the world's best calamari. And someone else will say, no, I have the world's best calamari, I have the world's best pizza, I have the world's biggest meatballs. And now you have a cook-off, and you do a press release, and you get the local media in on it, and a radio show comes, and it's like meatball cook-off over in Rose Hill, right? And you get publicity. Like, no one's going to knock on your door and say you're the best at teaching people how to network and create companies and create those. My life has changed because of knowing you and connections. You're so good at this, Jim.
Thank you.
Yes, it's so true. No cap. My kids would say no cap. Like, I remember one time I was telling them something. I go, the teacher said in the parent-teacher meeting, you're their favorite student. And my kids are like, cap, you're capping, cap, you're capping. I'm like, I thought they were just making sound effects. And I have a live-in au pair from Italy. She's 22. She goes, you don't know what your kids are saying to you. I go, they're making sound effects. They're just irritating me. And she goes, no, cap means you're lying. No cap is you're telling the truth. Cap, so anyway, for the people who don't know this, my age group. Age group. So no cap. I've learned so many things from you, and you've connected me with so many people, even in your green room backstage and in the audience. Thank you for doing what you do. Of
course.
And so what happened for me is I watched this video, and I'm like, well, what am I an expert at? My specialty is firearms trafficking, but I'm like, what am I in analytic interviewing and decoding body language? They would call it kinesics, right? And I'm like, what am I an expert at? And I go, I know. So today we call this manifesting. So I went in the next day. I always got a Diet Peach Snapple with this guy, Ben Peters. He'd come to my office door and he knocked and I go, hey, shut the door. He goes, what's up? I go, I got big news. Take a seat. He goes, what's up? I go, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm out of here. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I'm a New York Times best-selling author. I go on TV and radio shows all the time. I'm super famous. And this ATF thing is behind me. And he goes, when did this happen? I go, last night at 7:35 p.m. when I finished watching the Dan Kennedy video on my my VHS tape thing. I don't even, what they call those things. It was a VHS,
yeah.
whatever. So I'm scratching my face here.
I just close my eyes for a second because it just resonates so much with me to make those decisions.
Yes.
And create bold action around that, and to just to make the statement. I talk about it all the time. I'm like, I purposely will say something on a camera to hold myself accountable.
Nice, yes.
Because I do believe your word is bond.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I know it's old school and you can go back to like 90s rap and that was kind of the thing, like your word is bond.
Yeah.
But that stuck with me and that's what allowed me to create action around bold things. And it's just, I love what you said because you're like, in your story, you're like, no, it started last night. Like I'm that now.
Yeah,
and watch me go and make it happen.
I have a manifesting video that I watch every day, and it's money's raining. It's me being thinner when I was more fit in 2019, and it's all talking. I watch it all the time. I say it. It has a little script that I'm Christian, so I have some JC stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I look at it all the time. So this is what happened. So I immediately apply for ATF for the lawyers to give me a side job. And I write in there, publish books, translated in multiple languages, be on TV shows, radio shows. I write it all. And the lawyers for ATF at the time laughed. They thought it was hysterical. They thought my ego was so big. They approved it. They thought it was a joke, and they approved it. And 2 weeks later, I was on Fox News with Tony Snow, who later became the press secretary under George W. Bush. Lovely man. And he has since died of colon cancer. God rest his soul. And that was February 7th, 2003. 2 weeks after I manifested this. February 14th. Now February 7th, February 14th is Valentine's Day.
Yep.
And now I'm going to be in New York City. I do this interview with Tony Snow. And I remember saying, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it, because I know body language to detect deception in crimes. And I was doing a dating thing, how to have a date 6 nights a week if you want. I created a course and I was teaching it in DuPont Circle in DC, and I sold tickets. I sold 4. So now Fox News. So here's my next tipping point. So I sell these 4 tickets and to this thing, and I'm like, oh, it's a bust. I thought I was gonna make all this money and how to have a date 6 nights a week if you want. And I sell 4 tickets, women only, men can join us for drinks afterwards. I thought it'd be nice to not let the men in.
Yeah.
I'm just marketing. And I'm like, fuck, can I swear? I've been swearing.
Of course.
Crazy. Okay. So then I'm like, holy shit, no one's signing up. And it was like $100. And I'm driving home. My education is English communications with a concentration in broadcast media and public relations. Okay. So Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So I'm driving, and there used to be a radio show in DC called Ron and Fez Radio Show. And they tell the sidekick, this before, Sirius Radio and all that.
Yeah, all of that. Yep.
And I'm driving home. I'm married at the time. My husband's sick. And I'm going to go get Gatorade. And I'm driving home. I'm 4 blocks from the 7-Eleven where I'm going to get the Gatorade. And then that's like 7 blocks from my house. And I'm like, I hear Ron and Fez say to the Wonder Boy, is his character's name, Wonder Boy, why are you late? And he's like, oh, blah, 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 talking bullshit. And I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity. I got to get him Ron and Fez. This is my opportunity. He's lying. I can tell him here. Just based on this little 1-minute story, I can tell 6 ways that Wonder Boy is lying. And I'm like, say the number, say your phone number, because I don't have the phone number.
You're calling it, yeah.
I pulled over in a middle school parking lot. And I'm like, say the number. I have my cell phone. I'm like, say the number. And they're like, hey, for any requests, call 703. And I'm like, and I call. And they're like, Ron and Fez show. And I go, hi. My name is Janine Driver. They call me the Lion Tamer, Lyin, because I can tell if you're lying. And Wonder Boy is lying, and I can give you 6 ways to bust him. I'd love to be a guest on the show. He goes, Janine, first of all, I am Wonder Boy, and I was lying. So let me tell Ron and Fez and see if they want to put you on. I'm like, hot damn. So they come out. Seconds later, we're live with Janine Driver, the Lion Tamer, liontamer.com. Not the kind you think. It's LYIN tamer.com, which now just goes to JanineDriver.com.
Yeah.
And Janine, you told Wonder Boy there's 6 ways we could tell if he's lying. What are they? And I'm like, he said this, because I do statement analysis, words with hidden meaning. And if I was there, I bet you he shoulder shrugged when he said this, because I could hear the uncertainty in the pausing. He did shoulder shrug. And did he do this? They're like, holy shit, this was awesome. And I'm on for 35, 40 minutes. They go, Janine, we want you live in the studio. Can you come in live in the studio? This is, I want to say this is a Monday. Can you come in live in the studio? I'm like, yeah, sure. They give me they don't give me a phone number. They take my number. We'll call you. I go home. I'm like, oh, that's going to get tons of people signing up. I've got a class, I said, how to have it. I think I had 2 more people sign up, right? So here's what happens, though. The next day I get a call. Hi, Janine. This is blah, blah, blah producer. I'm with Fox News. I heard you on the Ron and Fez show yesterday, and you talking about that class. I'm thinking of sending a camera crew out to videotape your class. Now, this is not your local Fox News and you're like next to your PBS channel. This is like big, like Bill O'Reilly Fox, like big Fox.
Yeah.
And do you have any videos of you talking on it? No, I'm working for law enforcement, you know? So I'm like, I have a press release, I'm like such a dork, I had a press release, which they don't give a shit about.
Yeah.
So
they're like, we are the press.
Yeah, like they just didn't care. I thought it was so cool because of my college degree. And he goes, well, okay, they said you're going to be on live. When is that? I go, I don't know. They haven't gotten back to me. I write his name down. I call immediately. I'm calling the Ron and Fez radio show. No answer. It's ringing. I go to their website. I look at every single email that I can find, and I send the same copy and paste. Yes. Hey, Janine Driver, just to let you know, I'm going to be in there Thursday evening. I'll be the nutbag in the parking lot in the Honda minivan with my flashers on when you're ready to bring me in to be live on the show. I'll have my flashers on. I have the address, and I send that to, 36 people. Every single person that works at that radio station. Not just the Ron and Fez show.
Let's go.
Anyone that works for that radio station. Copy and paste. I would say maybe 40 minutes, less than an hour. My phone rings. Hey, Janine, it's Wonder Boy. Thursday night works great. Bam. I hang up there. I call or text the
Fox News.
The Fox News guy. He listens. Now my next problem is he's sending a camera crew. He sent 4 cameras to my class of 4 women. So I call everyone I know, in DC, and I go, if you can get 10 people here, they're going to be on TV, they're going to be famous, and you're going to help me. And so we had it packed. I think we had like 200 people. So I had 200 people there. They videotaped it. That B-roll aired on that show on February 7th with Tony Snow. Tony gets such a kick out of my antics that he has me back on February 14th out of New York, where I was doing How to Have a Date 6 Nights a Week. On Valentine's Day, we did it remote. I put those 2 videos on liontamer.com, and 6 months later, a producer from the Today Show is looking. There's 4 body language experts at that time who had websites, and no disrespect to the other 3, but I have I did stand-up comedy in my 20s, so I'm funny. Like I said to Tony Snow on the February 7th, 2003 one, he goes, like, what can women do to get guys' attention? Like, they can cross and uncross their legs subtly, but not Sharon Stone-ish, Tony. Well, who fucking says that on Fox News? Now it's Greg Gutfeld's over there, and he's saying all that.
Now you're getting it clipped and put over.
This is 10 years before Greg Gutfeld took over the nighttime of Fox. And he got such a kick out of me. I was leaving, that the producer chased me down, and then I've been on the Today Show 100 times. But I'm going to tell you this next thing. So those are a couple tipping points. This is the last one. And my invitation to people at home is, and we were talking earlier about the Bill Clinton thing.
Yep.
To manifest, you got to see it and believe it, and then you've got to act on it. I think this is where people don't miss that missing link. And not only do they have to act on it, my invitation on manifesting, because I'm a great manifester, I just manifested hearing from someone I've been talking to in 7 months today, is so say you want to manifest $1 million. If your subconscious thinks that's ridiculous, you're never going to manifest it because your energy, you're in the wrong. It's like you're on Highway 95 and you're getting off at exit 28A, but you want to be on exit 30.
Yep.
And you're still hoping that that McDonald's for the unsweetened iced tea is there. No, it's over this way. You went on the wrong.
Yeah.
You missed it.
Yeah.
So it has to be reasonable. You can say, like I say, like God says in the Bible, He multiplied the bread and the fish. God multiplies my successes day after day. God has people right now watching my TED Talks who are thinking of high-level people ready to pay high-level dollars for high-level work with me. There are people right now canceling as their keynote speakers because of one reason or another. They're canceling, and now they're hiring me quickly to a quick turnaround to bring me in to speak at an event, and I'm getting high-paid dollars. Like it is done now, right? So you manifest it, but here's the missing piece. Not only act, and you may know this, how would you feel? Like you have to stop and say, okay.
Tie the emotion to it.
Yes. And here's the deal. So how would you feel? So if you had, say, $10,000 extra in your account this week, how would that make you feel? Oh, that would give me peace of mind. I haven't paid my mortgage. It's almost the end of April. I have to pay my mortgage. I'd pay my mortgage. I'd pay my phone bill, my water bill, and I'd have a little nest egg. That would give me peace of mind. What we need to do then is what else could give you peace of mind right now so you can get in that vibration of peace of mind? What would give me peace of mind to check in on my mom and see how she's doing? It would give me peace of mind to know that I walked outside today because I'm working on getting back to being healthy. And that would give me some peace of mind. So it's those combination of things. How do I bring on that emotion now to get me in that vibration?
And I think that's the hardest piece, other than the actual implementation, but to actually make sure that you're in that subconscious of that state.
Right.
Like, how do you do that? How do you get to that state? Like, say that you said, hey, I want to manifest $1 billion.
Yes.
And you believed it. But how do you get back into that same state? It's tough, right? Like
yes.
that's
so
the
I would
struggle.
not say $1 billion. So like for me, I really think
so
you need to be
lesson
realistic.
would be more realistic. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's just multiplying your successes, money beyond your expectation. So for me, I say I like cheeky expressions. I like a system. So I say I am what I say I am, and I say this as a mantra, all day long. I am what I say I am. I say, because I'm a Christian, I have God's blood running through my body. I am what He tells me I am. I am what? I am wealthy. I am healthy. I am abundance. I am treasured. I am what? WHAT. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I am abundance. I am treasured. And I can't tell you how many times I get random emails from people might have. Someone wrote me this morning that he took my class. I think it's an older man, and he said he took my class 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and he's still using his techniques. He wants to hire me for an event. It's like, I want you to teach what changed his life. Where did that come from? I am what I say I am. So I'm not saying I'm a billionaire. I'm not saying that because then that vibration wouldn't fit. I'm a blue collar kid from Boston, So for me, listen, and I'm not the best. I don't know what all I'm manifesting. I just know I'm always learning these tools, and they've helped me. They've changed my life. I have a sign I have a balcony in my bedroom, and I have a sign that says money making magnet. And it's made of license plates. Did I show you this before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's different license plates. I ordered on an Etsy, and it says I've had 3 made, but this one's over my door because the door, I feel like it's coming in. It's coming in, and all these license plates, when I look at that sign, I go, there are people in each of these states from around the United States of America, from each of these states that are right now looking at my TED Talks, and they're hiring. They have hired me. It is done now.
Yep.
So I think those were that's my big, tipping points. Those are my big impact points I put that, excuse me. I put those videos on the website, and the rest is history. I retired at 38.
When you,
excuse me, from ATF.
When you had said something earlier about like peace, and this is something that's come up a lot lately, and more so even yesterday. I was having coffee with Jamie Miller, and we were talking about peace over happiness. And I think that is the cheat code to life, is like, how can you find peace in what you do, how you show up, how you serve, how you impact in the chaos of the roller coaster of
Mm-hmm.
life. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it always comes back down to, where do you find your happiness? Well, if I'm at peace, I'm probably happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been happy and not at peace before,
Mm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such an interesting concept when you were talking about peace. It just brought me back to that and manifestation, because I used to manifest the happiness side of things, but that felt just so like gym. And now I'm like, well, if I'm at peace, I can actually have more impact,
Yes.
which makes more happiness for me. And I think
Yes.
that's the serving mind, right? And
Yes.
what we do and how we show
Yes.
up. But it just hit home for me in that moment. It's like the fifth time I've had this peace concept has come up recently.
I think that, some people see me and I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I get it. You either love me and you want to be my friend, and some people will be like, I could listen to her for 20 hours. And other people are like, I couldn't listen to her for the first 5 minutes,
But I'd rather that than do what I've done the last couple of years and tried to fit in
Yeah.
every little circle or pool or.
I don't do that.
I mean, last year, I'll openly talk about it.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to find myself as a speaker.
Yes.
And I spoke on all these topics that I have done. I am
Yes.
credible, and
Yes.
and they're not bullshit, and they were impactful, but it never resonated with my heart and my soul.
Yes.
And it's like, how do I, last year I was like, how do I get to that point? And I think
Yes.
that's just so important, because again, what you were talking about with manifestation, I'm tying my feeling to what I speak about now.
Mm.
I'm tying my emotion.
That's
I'm tying my belief system. I'm tying what I stand for. And if you don't stand for that, or if you don't believe that human connection is greater than artificial intelligence, or that we're the happiest with others and the loneliest without them, and the saddest, and it relates back to Harvard studies around death and loneliness, and being lonely is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day for your life in eternity, when it relates back to your health. But I've got all those things, and if you don't align with that, then I'm okay.
Yes.
And if you don't align with, I swear on my podcast and I swear on stage, then I'm okay.
Yes.
Like, that's fine.
Yes.
But I need to stand for something. And I think that's so important, the concept you brought up, because in today's world, people don't want you to have an opinion. People don't want you to say, I stand for this, and like it or love it.
Yes.
And it's funny, that word like it or love it was something I said growing up as a, cocky asshole, young Bostonian, causing a lot of trouble in his teens.
Yes.
It was never love me or hate me. It was, are you going to like it or you're going to love it?
Yeah.
And it's just funny that comes back now in such a different scope of my life, in such a different frame of my life, and in such a more meaningful way of who I stand for and how I show up. And I just think in today's world, what I see over and over is people trying to fit into this puzzle. And it's like, show up as yourself, but you've got to have peace with yourself. You've got to love yourself in order for it to tie back and build into other people to feel that authenticity.
Well, I've got to tell you, this is not a business thing. I really relate to that, Jim, because for me, I'm an athlete, right? So I played lacrosse and basketball in high school, and I got to 2019 comes, it turns my business upside down, along with so many others. And my dad was in the hospital. An ambulance had to come and get him. My marriage was over. I was going through a divorce, and I put on this weight, and I'm really struggling getting the weight off. And just yesterday, and this is like a weird thing to say in a podcast, but after I took a shower, I stood in the mirror. And I just looked at me, because I heard someone on a TikTok say this, like one of the gurus. And I just looked at myself and said, I love you exactly as you are. I love you right here. I love all your curves. Janine, think of all those fucking paintings in Italy. All those Italians. They're not like fucking skinny girls with little tits. They're like big girls, big asses, big stomachs, and like they're voluptuous, and men loved them. It's like poetic. And there's some men that love my curves. I walk through the airport and I can spot them sometimes, and I'm like walking and I was like, hello boys. And I just looked at it and I'm like, I love me exactly here, because I think in order for me to get fit, I have to be in a state of loving me where I'm at. When you're talking about being someone else in different scenarios, I learned this lesson when I was in college. I was a resident advisor, and they passed around balloons. and they wrote different words of hate on the balloons. And we're all standing in a circle, all the orientation leaders or resident advisors, one of those things, because I did both. And sorry, my eyes, it's fidgety here. And we're passing the balloons around. They go, hit them, hit them, hit them. We don't know that there's word. We can't see what they say.
Yeah.
And they go, stop and look at the word. And each balloon had a hate word. And they go, this is what happens with prejudice, and this is what happens with hate, is we don't know what to say. We don't stop to realize what the dialogue's about, so we just pass it along. We're just passengers on this journey of hate, and we don't realize it. And they talked about figuring out what you believe. Because if you don't know what you believe and you're always trying to fit into every group, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be surrounded by people who, you like Trumpy, they hate Trumpy, right? But they hate Donald Trump. They're watching the court like crazy. Like they hate him. But you're not, you're a silent passenger. But you love Trump, or the opposite, right? Or whatever it is, pro-life or whatever. I'm not into politics. So whatever it is that you believe, if you don't know what that is, I think that's step one. And you know what? I'm pretty open person, which some people don't like, and I'm okay with that. You know, you heard me on a Mel Robbins podcast, and I said there are two things. One, that not everyone, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Yep. This woman named Andrea Quinn, who wrote a great book, don't ask me the name, but she calls those good to know moments. You know, Janine, you know, you're not my cup of tea. You talk too much. You have a big ego. It's all about you. All your stories are about you, blah, blah, blah. I hear this a lot. And I go, okay, good to know. Thank you. You know, that's just a good to know, where old Janine would have really harbored that. And like, you know, you remember where you are when someone says a bad thing. And the other thing I said on that Mel Robbins podcast that I think of every single day, and I love it. And I didn't make it up. I saw it on TikTok or something, but it changed my life, is I'm a wicked positive person. You know, I just was in a relationship for 9 months, and he had chronic depression and chronic anxiety. And those things are tough as is. And he has a belief that therapy and medication will never change those things for him. And that his ADHD, his depression and anxiety will be there every single day. And it's very tiring. If I'm standing on here and you're on the ground, is it easier for me to pull you up, Jim, or you pull me down? Yeah. I was way up here. I'm too far from that. Yeah. And so he was always knocking me down, and I noticed it was affecting me with my children. And he's a lovely man. I love him. We're both two great people that couldn't make it work. He was with his wife for 15 years, but guess what? She had depression and anxiety. She also has the same beliefs that therapy and medicine can't help. So I can see how they can both be okay with each other for so long.
Yes, makes sense.
Those 9 months for me felt like 9 years. I like tapped out. I'm like, I wish you good luck, but I'm out. I can't do it anymore. Yeah. I'm too here. He's here. Well, the reason I tell you that is that quote is, the bees are not busy trying to convince the flies that the honey tastes better than shit. Let me repeat it. The bees are not busy trying to convince the flies that honey tastes better than shit. I'm not interested who people and flies who want to sit around with their stinking thinking, eating shit and complaining. I want to be with the bees, the people that believe what I believe, that everything is happening for my greater good. I was in the airport getting off the plane today, and the woman in front of me was pulling her bag, and it slipped her handle, and the bag fell right to the ground. It's not a big deal. We're walking down the aisle, but there's 15, 20 people behind me. So she's walking, she's pulling the wheel, she lets go, it's too heavy, and it falls to the ground. And she looks at me, and I'm smiling, and she goes, oh, I knew it was going to be one of these days. And I thought,
it was always going to be because of that statement,
and
day in, day over.
I said, I have a thing that my mom taught at myself and my two younger sisters. I said, actually, if you drop a suitcase on an airplane before 3 p.m. on a Monday, it's good luck. So my mother would always say, something bad happens, you always had 3 details. Oh, you killed a bird, but you killed a bird on a Monday, and it was raining, and it was 2 o'clock. Yeah. That's good luck. Yeah. And so I said, oh, you dropped the suitcase before whatever time. I said, it's good luck. On a Monday, that's good luck. She goes, it is? I go, that's what my mother would say. So I think that's...
And you could have changed the trajectory of her day.
Maybe. But I can't hang around with those people. Yeah. I don't get like that. By the way, if I ever complain, my kids call me out. Like if I'm like if I ever said like, oh, I knew this was going to happen, or I don't talk like that, but if it snuck out, Charlie, my middle, I call him the governor. He's 10. I call him the governor of Virginia. So he'll go, Mom, say that differently. And I go, oh, thank you, Governor. Thank you. Yes, I will say that differently. They call me out. So I think for me, whatever your expertise is at home, mine happens to be detecting deception, body language, getting 2 steps ahead of human behavior, getting that 5-second advantage. It doesn't matter what your topic is are
What do
you
you stand for?
manifesting?
Yeah.
What are your beliefs? So this Andrea Quinn made me figure out, she's the one that said, it's a good to know. What are your 5 I ams? In order for you to be my people, Jim, I have to see my 5 I ams in you.
Yep.
You might not see them. You might be like, oh, I'm not really generous. You're like, I'm kind of cheap, but you're generous with your time. You're generous with your office here, your studio. You've invited me in. You paid for me to be here today. But you might not be the kind of person that might pay for dinner or send people edible arrangements or whatever.
Yeah.
So my 5 I ams, and she does an exercise. I'm sure it's in her book. Andrea Quinn. I'm from Boston. We say Andrea. She's from California, so it's Andrea. Andrea Quinn. Google it or YouTube it or whatever. Mine are: I am open. I am generosity. I am power. I am truth. So I love when you talk about not using ChatGPT, pretending to be you, using it in a way to help you as a tool.
Yeah, use it as a tool.
And then my last one is I'm a healer. But I had told Andrea Quinn when I was in her class, I said, well, I hurt my back, so it's hard for me to cross this leg, but I need to do it to stretch. I said, I am funny. I used to do stand-up comedy. I am funny. And she was funny as a human trait. You got to chunk it up. Life coaches would say chunk it up. And know what she said is people who are funny, I am a healer. It's so funny when you talk about these moments that can change the impact. And when she said I am a healer, for me to say I am funny versus I am a healer changed my world.
The magnitude on those 2 words. Words matter.
I used to, yes. The Bible says first there's word. So right here, I come in from the back of the room always because my big thing is my why is to inspire you to look at your world differently. So I come in from the back, very Dead Poet Society, Robin Williams, inspire you to look at your world in a different way. And I say, I want you to look at life from a different perspective. So it's like my metaphor. So I'm coming in from the back of the room. I used to say, before I learned that I am a healer, if someone was sitting like this or someone was sitting like this, I would say, oh, look at this person. And I'm in front of thousands of people sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes 10 people. But I'd still say, look at this person. He's either important or he thinks he's important. And that room would laugh at the expense of that person.
Yep.
When I learned it's not I am funny, it's I am a healer.
You weren't using that person at the expense anymore.
Now I say, look at this person. He's powerful. He's either important already or he's going to be important. And I want to tell you all something. If I were you, what's your name, sir? Jim. If I were you, get a picture with Jim while you're at this event and get his business card because you might be working for Jim one day.
Yep. I love it.
It's not as funny. It's a little bit, but not really as funny because I'm not picking on him, but he smiles and I am a healer. So like, I think of how do I use my comedy to heal? It's just
I love it. And it's
perspective change.
I was just going to say, it's a change in perspective.
Yeah.
Which I think is absolutely important.
Yeah. I want to tell you a story. Do you have another question? Because I want to tell you.
No, I was just going to say anything you want to share before we wrap up. So let's dive into the story. I'd love to.
All right. Crossed arms is a myth. And I'm fidgety. You always have to get someone's baseline when you read.
I was going to say, Janine's baseline is
super fidgety.
Is not normal to what I've read about in baselines, though.
Oh, how I teach baselining, you mean?
Yeah, like you move a lot and you fidget and
I touch my face a lot.
And that would be, but it's your natural behavior. And that when you were teaching me body language and I started looking at you and we were on some lives and Zooms, I was trying to read you. And then I finally was just like, this is what she's talking about because you did it multiple times and I'm like, that's baseline.
Yes.
So
what your baseline is someone's normal behavior. So I have something called sensory integration issues. So I have to rip my tags out of my clothes. I wear my socks. If you could see them, they're inside out. I have to have comfortable clothing. As soon as I'm done speaking, I take a shower.
Yep.
So it's called sensory integration and it's hereditary. My dad had it. My son Angus has it, my oldest. So I'm very, very fidgety. And what that is when you put your clothes on or your hair up or whatever, you feel it for a second. Like I'm getting hot with these lights. So I'm like, I want to take this shirt off so badly. And it's making me itchy. My skin is dry because the weather is getting hot now and warm. So normal people, you put your clothes on and you don't feel it. It's called sensory adaptation.
Gotcha.
I have a hiccup, so your body adapts. You don't feel it. I feel exactly where my bra is. I feel exactly with it. I could tell you, like, I feel my socks on my feet.
Yeah, okay. I'm
I
I'm going through it in my own mind with the socks and
Yeah.
like the bands.
Yes.
And I'll take my socks off sometimes. I have these certain socks, and it's like a welt.
Yes.
And I stopped. I felt it when it happened,
Yes.
but for the 9 hours I was wearing the socks, I didn't feel
Right,
it.
I still feel
And
it.
it stays with you, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and that stops your lymphatic flow. So it's not a mental. It's literally, it's like a well, it's mental and hyper. It's physical as well. It's not just in my head. So it's like a hypersensitivity thing. So like right now, my skin around my nose is super dry, but I put on makeup, so I look cute in case any of the single boys are out there. But it's making my skin very, very itchy. So, and then my hair is up. So that's my baseline. I'm very fidgety. In church, I was the one that, as a kid, that would always move my mother would grab my leg. The pew would be moving.
Yeah.
She'd be like, for the love of God. I'm like, you can't talk like that in church. But what I wanted to say is, I'm recently started working with this guy. I don't know if you know him, Jeff the entrepreneur. Do you know him?
No.
So I met him at a Bradley event, and briefly, I don't even, quite frankly, I don't remember meeting him. And I was one of the speakers, and I want to do something where I have nothing where I sell my training online.
Yep.
And I want to do school. Are you familiar with school?
Yep.
So I don't have anything there yet. So, but I want to do a school thing. And I don't know anything about it. And so someone said to me, Brian Galke, oh, you should connect with this guy, Jeff the entrepreneur. So I get on a call with Jeff, nice guy. We're FaceTiming though. This is what I want to say for people at home, that you can read human behavior by movements. We have movement DNA. So I don't know this guy, Jeff, the entrepreneur.
Yep.
I met him once, evidently. I don't remember. I'm talking to him, and he's talking to me like this, okay? He's talking, and he's like, so Janine, one of the things that you could do is da-da-da, and this. And he's talking with hand gestures that I like this. And then they speed up. And they're like, and then he's like, and then guess what else? And then he'd be like, oh yeah, and then like 5 years ago, and he like does these accelerating movements. They're called accelerating. People who have a lot of accelerating movements, like this guy, I don't even know his last name, Jeff the entrepreneur, Google him if you need him. And I said to him, I go, can I ask you something? I go, you the type of person that seizes opportunities. You seize that opportunity when it's in front of you. He goes, all day long. I said, can you also be impulsive? He goes, all day long. I go, okay. Are you sometimes late for meetings? Like you're late for things? Yes, all the time. People who seize opportunities and act quick on their feet, there's one of two movements, and one is this accelerating. So I'm able to get 2 steps ahead of Jeff the entrepreneur, because I know the same way I got away from that kidnapper when I was 16, I know how to decode human behavior. I now know he's what? He's going to seize opportunities. If I sweeten the pot, he's going to be impulsive. Do I want to send him an invoice that he then pays within 30 days?
No, it needs to be due upon receipt, because
Yeah.
he's going to do it right when he gets
Right
it.
now. Hey, let me send it to you right now, Jeff.
Yeah.
Throw your credit card information, and then I'll be your mentor.
Yeah.
I'll get you into my program immediately today. You do it right now, I'll give you 40% off, right? Boom, he sends it out. I'm impulsive like that. I remember I went to a college thing where they come to your town. They find out what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you look at. They go on Google Maps. They see what your career is. They look at your car in the driveway. Do you have a boat in the driveway? They start to figure out. I know because I've spoken to this industry.
Really?
And I had to I didn't know they did this,
Wow.
but they do that. They have a file on you, and your kids go to the private school, this private school, that private school costs $75,000 a year, and it's only 8th grade. So they know all this data. They investigate you before they take you out to these dinners. They've got a file on us. I didn't know this. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
So they take me to this dinner. I've never done one of these things. And we're there, and it's like a bunch of elderly people who love these things. And I live in D.C., but I went to school in Massachusetts, North Adams State College, MCLA, it's called now.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at the dinner. 2
of my good friends went there.
Really? Parties. We were in Playboy back in the day.
My friend who went there, 2 girls I lived with when I lived in Waltham went there.
Really?
Funny, because you were in Waltham.
All right, we'll have to tell you about it. So I sit down at this dinner. I'm impulsive, and I go, okay. I'm also an evaluator, right? And I'll show you a body language move connect to that. And I'll land this plane for all of us. Is I look at this woman and I go, okay, how can you give me the lay of the land? How I'm with like 5 other elderly people and me, and I say to the young woman who's like 38 that works for the college, who's there to get money from us. I go, listen, how does this work? Like, when do you ask us for the money? Like, are you going to ask us up front? I'd rather get the money, the ask out of the way first, so we can have a nice, authentic dinner and we can all just connect and see if we like each other or not. Then, otherwise, I feel like you're pretending. We're all pretending to like each other, and it's like the elephant in the room is the ask comes at the end. I go, how does it work? Can we do the ask up front? And this elderly woman was horrified about my moxie.
Yeah.
She's like, we don't talk like that at these dinners. I go, oh, I thought that you're going to ask for money. Well, we do, but it's at the end. She asks at the end. And I go, okay, well, I have 2 babies at home, a 1-year-old and whatever, 8-year-old.
Are you asking for $100,000 or
Yeah, like,
5?
what do you want?
Because let's get this over with, and then I can go on. Yeah.
So she wouldn't do it. That woman did it at the end, and she goes, how much will you donate? I go, 10 grand. I give you 10 grand. She's like, great. I go, take out my card. I go, here, take it. Take it off this card.
She couldn't take it, and you never ended up donating.
No. She goes, oh, we don't do it like that. I go, what do you mean? This is like 5 years ago, for the love of God.
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean? No, we'll send you a declaration or whatever they call it in the mail, and then you pay it. You send us a check, you pay it, but this is what you have committed to. And I go, listen, I'm going to let you know. By the time you send me that piece of paper, I'm probably going to have a front porch on the front of my house.
I was just going to say, or donate to something else that could take your money.
Or donate to someone else who can take the credit card right then and there many times. And guess what? I never paid it. I never did it.
Yep.
So this guy, Jeff the entrepreneur, I predict this about him. So now I know he's the type of person that's going to act fast. If he asks me to do something, am I going to send it to him 2 weeks later? If I do you think he's going to want to keep working with me?
No.
And giving me his great discount that he's helping me with? No. He's going to be like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to work with fucking Jim. When I say to Jim, get me these 8 things before his head hits the pillow tonight, he gets me those 8 things.
Because it's more beneficial for him and how he shows up in his natural state and operates.
Yes, because he's all about executing fast.
Yeah.
He's willing to help me right now. He might not be willing to help me in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Like, get your shit. I cannot tell you how many times I go on TV, but I'm up at 3 a.m. writing this, because I'll give you a quick example. I was on, I wanted to get on this Rachel Ray show. I'd been on the Today Show a couple times, and the Rachel Ray was like taken off, and she's not really my cup of tea, but I'm like, okay, everyone's watching her. Yeah. So I wrote, did you hear me tell this story before?
No.
So I'll make it quick. I'll tell in 30 seconds, but I write all these pitches. And I go to Rachel Ray's website. Each of the websites say upcoming shows where they're looking for guests. So where they're looking for guests, are you a smoker but your parents don't know? Are you meeting your future in-laws for the first time? Do you want to increase your chances of getting a job? Are you looking for a job right now? And I'm like, hi, I'm Janine Driver, human lie detector. I can give you these 3 ChatGPT could help me write it so much faster. But here are these 3 takeaways that you're going to get. And I just stayed up. And I remember staying, my son was taking a nap, he was a baby at the time, and I just stayed up nonstop, like hours, writing this stuff. This was during the day. I write it up, this is a Wednesday, I'll never forget it, because that Friday, my phone rings. And the woman said, I don't even know, hours of pitches. I pitched maybe 40 shows.
Wow.
And they were all different producers, I'm assuming, which they were. And I said, my phone rings, I'll never forget it, on a Friday, and I said, Janine Driver, human lie detector, lion tamer. And she goes, Janine, Maggie Barnes, the Rachel Ray show. Do you know what I said? Maggie, I've been expecting your phone call. That's manifesting. And then I was on Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray sat on my lap during that episode. It was a dating episode, and they forgot to bring out an extra chair. They surprised the girl and brought back a date and this whole shenanigans. So they didn't have enough chairs for him. So Rachel Ray said, sit here in my chair. She sat on my lap. A guy who is turning the channels happens to see Rachel Ray sitting on I had red hair. I look like Heat Miser. Why is Rachel Ray sitting on like, I'm Mr. Heat Miser? Remember that? I'm Mr. Sun. No, it's a Christmas thing. How old are you? I'm 53. I'm Mr. 101. It's like I had this red spiky hair. He says, why is Rachel Ray sitting on that redheaded chick's lap? He stops, looks. His name's Dan Lazar. He goes, holy shit, body language can help that girl get a second date. I wonder if there's a book deal in here. He calls me, long story short, get a book deal with Random House. It became a New York Times bestseller. It's translated in 17 languages.
Wow.
And why? It's not just the manifesting, it's acting on it, it's getting in that vibration. I didn't just sit back and wait producers to, Rachel will call me next. No. I love, people say this all the time. Great, your book was a New York Times bestseller 12 years ago. What are you doing now? Like, forget about yesterday's success. It's like, what are you doing right now? And I'm constantly always saying, like right now, I told you I'm reading a great book called Mindsight.
Yeah.
I want to be an expert at this. Like, how do we have this emotional intelligence connection with one another through this thing called Mindsight, Dr. Dan Siegel. And so I'm highlighting that and mind mapping that, and I'll become an expert at Mindsight.
Yeah.
So I'm an eternal student. And if you understand some of this movement DNA, you can make smarter decisions and you can build that rapport like I'm doing with Jeff the entrepreneur, which I do have to do some stuff for him tonight. So I asked him, he said, yes, I am impulsive. Yes, I act quickly. The second call, he's coaching me. He's now one of my coaches. He's coaching me and this other woman. He goes, Janine, did you read the book? Blah, blah, blah. I go, no. And he goes, hold on. While he's coaching us, sends me a text with the link to Amazon to this book to read.
Yeah.
And I go, okay. And he goes, okay, Janine, have you checked out the school platform? Like, have you bounced around in some of the different trainings in there? I go, no, not yet. He's okay, let me open it up. He opens it up. He goes, okay, see this one? I sell this one for $400. And he goes, all right, hold on. He goes in, changes the price tag to $0, sends me a link. He goes, okay, I just changed the price tag to $0.
Yeah, so he's doing everything in real time.
I want you to download it right now so I can go back and change my price to whatever, $397. So I'm like, okay, I go on, I download it, it's on my phone. He goes back, he changed, while we're on the call with another woman, he puts it back to $397. I like this. He didn't say, after the call, I'll do that. And I go, holy shit, that's his timing. If you can spot this movement DNA, I now know what's the best way for me to work with him that he's going to want to keep working with me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a give and receive, and how you can work with someone, not necessarily for you to necessarily like win someone over or get something.
Or manipulate him.
Or manipulate him, but you know how to work with him, and you know, hey, I need to do this, or this is important, how you can show up.
100%.
And I think that's the key of, like, it's not always about what we can get out of someone. It's about how can we show up so there's a mutual win-win situation for that person and they feel good.
Yes.
I can tweak and move and do a couple things and it doesn't harm me. Why not just tweak and move so there's more of a platonic relationship amongst two business professionals and we both win. We both succeed.
100%. You know that old expression, like, treat people the way you want to be treated. And then people have then said, this is not mind shatter. No, treat people the way they want to be treated. And so that is very important to me. I'm late for everything. And
speaking of late.
Yeah, we have to go to dinner.
Yeah.
So I'm late for everything. And for me, if I know being on time is really important for some of my clients, I need to know that.
Yeah.
And there's a move that they do, which is, and I'll tell you this last thing, which is called directing. And so go like this. Guess what? That's not directing. Now go, guess what? Directing is our gestures go in the same direction. Jimmy Fallon, if you look at Jimmy Fallon, Amy Schumer, hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
If you look at Jennifer Lawrence, guess what happened? And their hands might not be there, but their shoulders will be there. Know what else happened? It's like they're a smart bomb and you can't get away from their energy. Those people like details. And it's really important that I understand, and we all understand, I have two different pitches. I have the pitch where I have lots of details for you, and the pitch where it's a summary sheet.
Yep.
A client of mine, when I taught this skill, said, Janine, I call it the rip. I go, what do you mean? She goes, I come in. She's a big executive at a stock marketing broker company. She goes, I come in, I've got the file this big, and I got the one sheet on top. She goes, there's some people that rip off the one sheet and they throw the other thing aside and they look at the one sheet. There's other people that rip the one sheet aside, throw it over there, and they open.
And start going into the details.
Yeah. And I can tell that before you get the report in your hand simply by looking at you in a YouTube video.
Yeah. I love it.
That's
Powerful.
it. And I listen, going back to impact, you make such a big impact in my life, and I love sharing these stories. Hopefully someone found something valuable, something along the way. And I look forward to helping you in any way that I can, because I know your intention. Like for people at home, I think sometimes when we meet people on a social media site, we don't really know who's authentic or not. But I challenge that. I think if people took a hot second to say, is this person really authentic? And you trust your gut, then they would know you're an authentic person because we have mirror neurons. And when we look at you talking, I mean, I saw, you just put something on Facebook the other day. It was a picture of like a whole bunch of people from your awesome event that was sold out last year here in Nashville. It was, I've never been around more cooler people. And I'm not talking just the speakers, like the audience was, I loved it.
Thank you.
You do like this special dinner with the speakers. I was loving it. And I'm an introvert in those situations, but I was loving it. But you're so authentic. And here's how we can tell authenticity with you is you just trust your gut. Marion Jones was, I don't know if you remember her, but she was an athlete and she took steroids and lied about it. When she first came out and she did a video and she's like, and I challenge Osada who said I'm doing this, you know, this is not true. And you look at it and you feel no sadness for her. Mm-hmm. You don't feel angry or sad, nothing. That's how you know someone's inauthentic.
Yep.
But like even us getting emotional kind of in the beginning, talking about us trying to be the best parents and the impact we can have on other people being great parents. Or that ripple effect or that butterfly effect, that impacts me too, because I had such great parents. My dad's still alive. My mother was my best friend.
Yeah.
You know, I have amazing 3 sons. My ex-husband and I have an amazing relationship together. And when I see families suffering, that like pulls at my heartstring. Listen, I was molested at 6. A guy tried to kidnap me at 16. And I very easily could have ended up addicted to drugs. I could be dead now. But because I had an amazing support system in my parents who believed me, who supported me, I get to turn my blue streak moments into impact moments. And so when people have a difference in their life from something one of your guests shares, I attend seminar, that touches me. And I think that's how you can tell if someone is authentic, that you feel it inside. When this woman, Marion Jones, came clean, that she lied to the FBI.
You could see the whole change in that.
And she cried. She's like, I let down my fans. I let down my children. And she's crying. You watch it. You're like, she showed up.
That's real.
I saw Hillary Clinton speak once in an event. I was speaking some of these events where it's like you can choose from 5 different speakers. So I was like a workshop speaker. Hillary was the big keynote speaker. And people may love her here that are listening. I don't know. But I saw her speak. And I was sitting in the audience and I thought, at least for that event, I don't know about other events, I said to myself, Hillary Clinton forgot to show up for that event today.
Yep.
Because what I saw, she was trying to pitch people for money for her Clinton Foundation and she had a hidden agenda and she was not authentic and the stories were not authentic. She wasn't vulnerable. I just sat there and I go, what an awesome waste of time.
So what you're describing was a lot of stages I was on last year because I was trying to figure out what my uniqueness and my thing was. And like now, I look back on a video from 8 months ago and a video from a month ago, and I'm like, that is 2 completely different people on stage. And it's me.
So you felt like last year you came across as inauthentic, like we weren't being pulled towards you?
The speech that I spoke at the conference last year, I ripped up and threw away and went all heart. Okay. That speech changed everything for me.
Yeah.
Because it was true, it was authentic, and it was me.
Yeah.
And as I progressed down that road and dive more into my specialty and my uniqueness and be Jim.
Yeah.
Right? Like you see me on stages and podcasts, I usually wear my scally cap.
Yeah.
Well, when I moved to Nashville, I stopped wearing my scally cap because I feel like I didn't fit in and I should have this cowboy hat and all this stuff. But if you go back, that's part of me having more self-love and falling into my own authenticity.
Yes.
And now I go and I wear a scally cap and people are like, dude, I love that hat.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, you're the guy that wears the scally.
Yes.
And like, now I even had people recently like, you need to change all your photos. Like people that support me, clients, are you need to change all your photos. You need to get a new headshot. Last event, we had someone take headshots and I changed my photos.
Why? Because you didn't have the hat on?
Yeah, because they're like, that's not you. That's the old you. And I'm not talking one person. I'm talking multiple people. And I'm in a zone right now where I'm like, I've made mistakes last year. I've made changes. I've stopped doing things. I started doing things more, and I'm just gonna show up. And in my speeches, it's gonna be from the heart. I'm gonna tie the emotion to it because it's true, it's real, it's raw, and I actually am showing up in a 100% belief that this is who I am. And to your point, like what I said earlier, like it or love it. And if you hate it, go tell someone else, not me.
I know I know we have to go. I have to say this about you. We've talked numerous times. I probably do a lot of most of the time. Uh, and you picking me up today, where we sat in front of the hotel, and I was asking you. I'm learning Chinese face reading. So I was asking you about your ears. Is something happening in your ears that indicated a potential trauma as a kid? I have never had a bigger connection to you than today. I even said to you, "Holy shit, do you share this stuff?"
She did.
Like I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like because, and I said I'm getting emotional listening to you. I'm super emotional about it because I'm on a 9 month now. I'm 1 month in transformation of self-love, and I loved so many things you said, especially that so many things impacted me. Is and for people probably know your story now. When you said that you were in a toxic career, making lots of money, toxic career, making not great choices, the leaders there weren't making great choices, and you just packed up your shit and you left. Two things. One, I go, "Did you have any money?" You're like, "Fuck yeah, I had a lot of money because I was making a lot of money." So many other people would be like, "I had $7 in my account." It's like, okay, that fucking story has
Yeah,
been
I just
done.
sold my Harley for $16K that I customized
Yeah.
and was like, fuck it, if I'm going to Nashville, I need some cash
You need money.
in case this thing don't work.
Yeah, so you weren't just coming with $8 in
And
your
it
pocket.
didn't work.
It didn't work.
That's the crazy part about it.
Yes.
The reason why I came here did not work.
Yes. Yeah, and you said to your brother, like, "Hey, I might end up coming back to Boston and sleeping in your basement, buddy." I love that you got here. I think of Friends, pivot. You had to keep pivoting. And, I'm in a pivot in my life right now. I have 3 sons. My oldest is going to college. He's learning differences. It went by in the blink of an eye. I've been so busy traveling for his whole childhood, that my son, who has dyslexia, he's slightly on the spectrum, like he's off to college, and I've got 2 more months, and I've been so busy wanting to make money that I need to pivot. And so I'm going to make money in a way where I'm not hopping on planes 50 times a year, gone 2 nights. So I'm gone 100 nights a year. I have 3 kids, I have a 10 and a 9.
Yeah.
And I want to make money, not always speak. I'd rather raise my speaking prices
and do it less.
12 times a year, like Jesse Itzler, he does so many. He'll only do so many a year. And charge me, pay big bucks. All the rest I do online.
Yep.
I was just asked for.
He said that when I met Jesse for the first time in Vegas last year. He was running.
He was.
And before the conference. So we made eye contact, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, brother?" And I went back over to him, and he sat with me for about 15 minutes, and we talked about that exact thing.
If people don't know Jesse Itzler, please follow Jesse Itzler. I love Jesse. He's
good guy.
He's another person who's impacted my life in a big way. He's a great guy. And so thank you for being vulnerable with me in the car today.
Of course.
And I was like, holy shit. I literally was like, you don't realize, by you being authentic today, like I'm in a very vulnerable place in my life doing this like reset. And for you to be so vulnerable and open and impacted me, because it gave me hope. It gave me hope because it's scary. Like I've had a couple events come in from Canada, and I'm not going to take them. I'm not taking them because I need to change the energy. Right? I can't take like the low hanging fruit all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to send my energy out to the universe that I'm okay to take this low hanging fruit.
True. And
I have to just believe. And so hearing you fail more than once when you first got here, and then invested in a business that made almost $1 million or right at that mark, that you helped this guy with his product, great product, but he didn't have shit to do with marketing. You are the maker of connections. You get that product, you make $1 million, boom, COVID hits. And then you're telling me, I'm thinking about going back and buying him out because that drink was a great drink. Like, and then I'm like, oh, do you own a house here or do you rent? You're like, I own 2 houses here. And I'm like, holy shit, like that inspired me for you to pick up, move here, the job you get in the blink of an eye, it fails. They don't even have a desk for you. You have to pivot. Then COVID hits. Your business that you make, you think you're like living large here in Nashville, and it's pulled out from underneath you. And I think, to me, those change of seasons, um, you gave me a lot of hope. It's nice to have the metaphor. You cut your garden back in the fall, and you chop off and it looks like shit. It's like little sticks on the ground.
And
the
then
next
all
day,
of a sudden,
but I think those types of things are great. Or you plant the seed, but the flower doesn't grow the same day. All those little metaphors and analogies are great, but real life shit. Like I remember saying to you in the car something like, "But you're so clean cut, right? You're like so clean cut, straight and narrow." You're like, "Oh no, let me tell you about my childhood. Let me tell you about my bad choices I made." And that's so fucking vulnerable, real, open, authentic, and I
it's the
love you.
truth, though. That's the thing that kills me is like, I had to look myself in the mirror and go, I'm not telling the truth.
Mm.
And I will never be able to love myself if I lie and I don't share the truth. And like that's a hard thing to go through. And I'm still not perfect and I still have traumas, and it's never a path of I'm over that. I always think you're working for the greater good and to get better. And like it's hard to be open about that. It's hard, to share it because you don't know what you're going to get back. And like vulnerability is such an important thing, but also, and like I was on a podcast last week and I'm like, you can overshare and you can be overly vulnerable with the wrong people, and they can use that and hurt you really bad.
Yes.
Right? So it's not this just throw it out there.
Yes.
But you've got to understand the human connection and like, is this person, and body language and all of it.
Yes.
And like, is this person someone that I feel safe with? Is this have they shared anything with me?
Yes.
Right? Like I'm all for being silent and actively listening. Like I love that. But also in a vulnerable moment, is there anything that they're willing to give up a little bit to go back and forth? Because if not, well, then how deep is that relationship, right? Someone who asks you to be vulnerable but not be vulnerable with you is someone that I want to run away from.
Yes.
And we don't have that because we've shared multiple things in that car ride. Your life, my life, family, friends, mom. I mean, I told her like I something's holding me back in my life, and I could have had the opportunity to have a conversation last week, and I didn't. My words were I pussied out. Right. And like, that's vulnerable for me to share with you in the first 15 minutes I've seen you. I haven't seen you in a while. Right. So.
And I said to you, well, you go, I didn't know how to say it. And I go, do you know how to say it now? And you go, yeah. I go, what would you say now? I very easily could have just given you advice. Hey, next time that, your mom's here, say this, try saying this. I learned this formula. I didn't. I said, do you know how to say it now? And you go, yeah, now I would say blank. And I go, fuck, that's powerful. Yeah. Like how you already figured it out is really powerful.
Well, I missed the opportunity, and I'm someone that likes to do blue streaks like you, and and I like to make it happen and move quick, and I missed the opportunity. So I've been thinking about that. My mom left last week. I've been thinking about that every day. Yeah. Because I missed the opportunity, and how can I take advantage of the next opportunity?
And it's that an open loop in your head.
That conversation isn't a conversation over the phone.
No.
That conversation is there needs to be some hugs and
I was gonna say physical touch.
Yeah, the right appropriate timing and setting, and it's deep, and it's there's a lot of wounds there.
Dr. Dan Siegel, that book that I'm now reading, but one of the things he says is connect and redirect. So connect is that touch, and then redirect.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that your conversation is going to be really wonderful, and you're an amazing human being. You being vulnerable is really amazing. I overshare often, not as many details. For every one story I tell you, there's 15 others. And I did a TED Talk once, and I said in the talk that a woman working for me embezzled over $65,000 from me. And when I put that, and I know you have a TED Talk, when I put that in my TED Talk and I was practicing my script, every single person in my social circle, including family, said, you're out of your mind. You're called the lion tamer, and you're going to talk about being embezzled. I go, yeah, because if I can be manipulated, and I trained the CIA and the FBI and Scotland Yard Police, and I worked at the FBI for a year, like if I can be manipulated and I have this set of skills that I've developed since I was 6,
How much is it happening to you?
Yeah, and give yourself a fucking break if you got manipulated. Your significant other cheated on you. Your kids are doing drugs and you didn't have a fucking clue. Or your kid is the drug dealer and you didn't have a fucking clue. Give yourself a break.